Ladies and gentlemen, we do have Mr. Nilekani with us. A big round of applause. Please, sir. Please sit down, sir. Please. Well, singular privilege to have you, Mr. As, over here, and all I can tell you is people are certainly very, very keen to hear from you. And since all of us have been here, sir, since morning, I can tell you that the discussions veered around on the subject of subsidies many times. So therefore, I think the expectation level from you is very high. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my privilege to introduce Mr. Nandan Nilekani. He's, of course, as all of us know, he's currently the chairman of the Unique Identification Authority of India, of course, in the rank of Union Cabinet Minister. A very ambitious project. I mean, trying to provide an ID to 1.2 billion people is not an easy task, unprecedented in the world. So that's what he does now. Of course, he was the co-chairman of the board of directors of Infosys. He founded that company. He was also the CEO, managing director of that company. Infosys certainly does not need any introduction. He has Time magazine has listed him as one of the 100 most influential people in the world, twice over in 2006 and 2009. Foreign Policy magazine listed him as one of the top 100 global thinkers in 2010. Ladies and gentlemen, before I invite him to share his views, I would like to formally welcome him, and if I may request Mr. Gupta, Mr. K.K. Gupta, Director of Marketing of Bharat Petroleum, to come forward and present him a bouquet, please. On behalf of the industry, the World LPG Association, sir, please do. We welcome you. All right. We are very conscious that he has to leave. He has to attend his office in half an hour time. Folks, it's my singular privilege to invite Padma Bhushan Shri Nandan Nilekani. Please do share your views with us, sir.
Thank you very much, and it's really a great pleasure to be here, ladies and gentlemen, at this regional summit of the World LPG Association. I'll speak briefly about what we do and what's the connection to the whole challenge of managing subsidies. The project which I had is called the Unique Identification Authority of India, and this was a project that was set up by the government about 2.5 years back with the express purpose of giving every Indian resident a unique ID. We're talking about 1.2 billion people. And when we looked at the problem of how do we give unique IDs to 1.2 billion people, we realized that this was a challenge of unprecedented scale, size, and scope, and it had to be done very speedily. So we came up with an approach which basically said that the challenge we have in India is that there are a large number of Indians who don't have any form of documentation. They don't have a birth certificate, they don't have a school certificate, they don't have a driver's license, all the normal things we associate with identity. And therefore, we had to start somewhere and start assigning them IDs. And we had to make sure that it was a unique ID, which meant that no person got more than one ID. And therefore, we found that the biometrics technology, which had been used elsewhere in the world for other purposes, could actually be used for establishing uniqueness. And so what we do is essentially when somebody enrolls into our system, they provide a set of biometric features like the iris and the fingerprints. And that totally concatenated is a unique digital signature for a person. And then when somebody enrolls, we really don't look so much at the name under which he has enrolled, but we look at his or her biometrics and compare them with the entire stack of biometrics we already have and see whether that biometric pattern is duplicated or not. And if it is duplicated, we know it's the same person trying to get the number again. Now, this is a massive technological challenge because if we have a database of 400 million people and 1 million new people enroll that day, then each of those 1 million people has to be compared against all 400 million in the back end to make sure there's no duplicates. But we have built this biometric capability which can process 1 million transactions a day at an accuracy of 99.96%, and which we think has the capacity to grow to 1 billion plus records. So that is one thing, the establishments of uniqueness through biometrics. So everybody who goes through this and is unique and therefore has not got a number earlier is issued a number by us. It's a 12-digit random number that we generate for them. So that part is what we call as enrollment. And today we have crossed about 200 million Indian residents have been enrolled, and we do approximately about 20 million a month, which means that over the next several months, our goal is to, by 2014, to reach 600 million Indian residents to have this number. But the other important thing which we do once we assign the number is that the number is also an online identity. And that's the big difference between this number and other numbers like the Social Security number in the US or the National Insurance number in the UK. Because this is the world's first online identity program, which means that once you're assigned this number, you can go and authenticate yourself online anywhere with various authentication factors. You can do it through a biometric authentication. You can do it through a one-time password which is sent to your mobile phone. You can do it through a PIN number. There are multiple authentication methods which we support. But all these authentications can be done online in real time. So, for example, if somebody goes somewhere and says, I'm X and my number is 123, we can take X, the number 123, and one of his fingers, send that information to our central database and reply within a few seconds, confirming that he's X or he's not X. So we do ID verification online, on the fly in real time. And this ID verification is available as an open programming standard, as an interface, so that different applications can embed this in their applications. So you can use it for healthcare, you can use it for financial inclusion, you can use it for a whole variety of applications, including for subsidies. And therefore, you can think of the subsidy reform possibilities using the UID as one more application of this system, which provides, on the one hand, unique identification, which is done through the biometric deduplication, and second, providing online authentication of identity. And therefore, subsidy sort of reforms, and certainly LPG subsidy reforms, is really an application of this identity. And this is an open architecture, which means over the next 10 years, you'll see many, many more applications coming up which sit on top of this identity infrastructure. And that's the difference about it from most IDs, because most places, IDs are linked to one application. A passport is a document to travel, a voter card is a document to vote, and so forth. This is actually an ID infrastructure that is independent of the application, but provides the ability to build applications on top of it, and the LPG subsidy therefore becomes one possible application of this identity infrastructure. Now, specifically, how would it help us in the LPG area? Now, we know that the challenge in the LPG area is that the price of the cylinders, at least I know the Indian context, is probably about 50% of its market price. People have subscribers. Because of the arbitrage between the price of the cylinder and the market price, there is opportunity for diversion and all that stuff. So we really want to do two things. We want to release the manufacturers from being the carrier of the subsidy. In other words, they should be able to sell their product at market price because they need to run a business, be competitive, and all that stuff. At the same time, we want to make sure that the people, the poor people who need some kind of a subsidy, some kind of a cushion against high prices, are given that benefit. And that's what we want to achieve. So today we achieve that by pricing the product lower, and that leads to all the distortion that you see. So how does the Aadhaar Unique Identity Program help us in this task? There are really 4 things it directly contributes to the subsidy reform agenda. The first is, because the Aadhaar number is a unique number, you can actually, suppose you have a business rule that says one family can have only one connection, or whatever be your business rule, you can now, if you link every subscriber in your dealer database to the unique number, automatically duplicate LPG connections are identified. Now, your policy will decide whether to cancel them or whatever. That's your policy. But fundamentally, if a person has 2 or 3 LPG connections, because on all the 3 connections they will give the same Aadhaar number, we can essentially eliminate ghosts and duplicates from the database of subscribers. This is a one-time benefit, because once you do this, you're essentially done housekeeping of your database and eliminated ghosts and subscribers, people having multiple connections, or people having a connection in somebody's name, but actually, it's actually it's a commercial complex or whatever. So all those things you can clean up by making sure that every residential consumer in your database has a Aadhaar number, and then making sure there are no duplicates. So that's benefit number one. That benefit alone, we think, will have a substantial saving because we'll eliminate all these ghosts and duplicates and non-residential diversion and so forth. So that's number one. The second thing is, at the point of delivery, you also want to authenticate that the person who's taking the cylinder is a genuine person. And therefore, what you can do is that if you have a customer with a particular Aadhaar number or a set of Aadhaar numbers for the family, then when that cylinder is delivered to the residence of that person, the person who accepts receipt of the cylinder can be authenticated using the online ID authentication that we provide to confirm that that person is one of the 4 or 5 people whom you have in your system as belonging to that family group. And therefore, you can, apart from the one-time benefit of deduplication that we provide, you also have the ability to online authentication at the point of service delivery. And that makes sure that the cylinder is delivered to the genuine family. And that authentication that is done is what is called as a non-repudiatable transaction, which means that we have a record of that authentication saying this cylinder was purchased at this time, receipt was done by this UID number, and that act of authentication is digitally encrypted and signed by the UID, so that nobody can repudiate that it happened, because you'll have the fact that that thing happened, and therefore you can make sure that the genuine people are able to get this. And in fact, the pilot, which I think Mr. Jayadevan talked about yesterday, is actually being done in this way, where we are working with all the 3 oil marketing companies in India, and in the city of Mysore, they're actually delivering cylinders and doing this verification through the delivery boys to confirm that the resident is the actual resident for the cylinder. So this is the second benefit, that using the online authentication, you can verify that you can make sure that the genuine person or the same family is claiming the cylinder, and in a non-repudiatable way. The third benefit that the Aadhaar number offers for this industry is that because it is unique across the country, it's obviously unique across multiple companies and so forth, and therefore you can actually implement a kind of LPG customer portability. Today, for example, we have mobile number portability, where somebody has a mobile number and he's not happy with the service that is provided by his mobile operator. He can go to this place and he can register and he can change his mobile operator without changing his number. And therefore, is that apart from the fact that we provide the Aadhaar number and have this uniqueness, we also have an Aadhaar-based payment platform which we have built, or we actually rolled it out recently, where everyone who has an Aadhaar number is also eligible to open a bank account. Because to open a bank account in most countries today, because of the Prevention of Money Laundering Act and terrorism and all that, requires something called Know Your Customer, or KYC process. And it's often very difficult for people, especially the poor, to open a bank account because they don't have adequate identity to prove who they are. Now, fortunately for us in India, the central regulator, the Reserve Bank of India, has agreed that if you have an Aadhaar number, that Aadhaar number is a KYC to open a bank account. So in other words, every one of the people who gets an Aadhaar number from us, their ability to open a bank account will become much, it's automatic. It's not automatic, but it's streamlined. It reduces barriers of entry. So using this Aadhaar number opening a bank account, you create what we call as an Aadhaar-enabled bank account. And now, of course, if you already have a bank account, then you can connect your bank account to this number. So either it could be a new account which is created at the time of getting your Aadhaar number if you're an unbanked person. If you're already a banked person, which is often common with LPG customers, then you can link your bank account to the Aadhaar number, and you get what you call as an Aadhaar-enabled bank account. Now, once you have an Aadhaar-enabled bank account, there is a very strong biometric link, one between the LPG account and the Aadhaar number, and second between the bank account and the Aadhaar number. Now, once you have this link, then you can you can be confident that you have a strong and robust way of doing financial transfers to that genuine person. In other words, you can say that instead of giving the cylinder at a subsidized price, I will give the cylinder at market price. And for those of my customers who are deserving of a subsidy, I will simultaneously transfer the subsidy value into his bank account, and I'll use the Aadhaar number for both these transactions. So I'll use Aadhaar number to identify the customer, I'll use Aadhaar number to authenticate the service delivery of the cylinder, and electronically, I will use the Aadhaar number bank account connection to transfer the relevant money into his bank account. So for example, if the cylinder today costs us 600 rupees, and let's say that 250 rupees is the subsidy, I don't know what it is, but whatever it is, then in the current model, when I buy a cylinder, I pay 450 or 350 rupees. In tomorrow's model, everybody will pay 600 rupees for the cylinder, but those who are eligible for a subsidy will get a cash transfer of 250 rupees or 350 rupees into their Aadhaar-enabled bank account. Now, what that does is essentially it removes the oil marketing companies from the subsidy loop. They become a pure market player. They compete on price and performance and all that good stuff. And those who are identified as beneficiaries will have the money going directly into their bank account. Now, as you perhaps know, today in India, the LPG subsidy is a universal subsidy, which means that all of us, I get it, you get it, and so forth. And clearly, that's not really what you want to do. You don't want, rich people to be getting cylinders at a subsidized price. So once you delink the subsidy from the price of the product, sell the product at the price, market price, then you can take that universal subsidy that you have and start excluding from that subsidy those who are obviously should not be beneficiaries, those who are, say, income tax payers, or those who have corporate jobs or government jobs, or those who have, those who have X acres of land or whatever. You can define a set of exclusion rules, which we believe will automatically eliminate maybe 20-30% of the current user base of LPG who really don't need to take a subsidy of 300 rupees on a cylinder. And then obviously the government can use that subsidy either to reduce its fiscal issue or use that subsidy to give to other people who are more deserving of that. So once you go to the cash transfer, you can then start excluding the well-off from the subsidy, and then start redirecting that to the genuine beneficiaries of the subsidy. And that's something which can be done. And this, coupled with a transparency portal, which is what in India all the three oil companies, I don't know whether Jaydevan talked about that, are building transparency portals which allows, under the Indian Right to Information Act, if an individual is getting a subsidized thing from the government, that has to be publicized. So the RTI says that any subsidy the government is spending on somebody that's public information. So that means that you can have a portal where you can have all the details of who all bought how many cylinders, and therefore that will be one more way of cleaning up the abuse of this, because you'll know the overconsumption on a residential line with 100 cylinders, there's something going on there. So basically you use the transparency portal also to start doing exclusion, and therefore over time as the economy, as the people get better off, then more and more people will get excluded, and the subsidy will remain only for those genuinely deserving people. So you can actually use this to, bring this, take the universalized version and start excluding the well-off people and making sure the benefit goes to the right people. And on the other side, since the subsidy is now no longer priced into the product, the subsidy is not something which flows to the balance sheet of the companies, and that's where the problem is, right? Because the companies have to then go and claim their subsidy, and all this, negotiations go on and so forth. So fundamentally, we are unlocking that, and subsidy will flow directly from the government into the bank accounts of beneficiaries, and the oil companies, therefore, will be selling at market price. They will then compete like everybody else, and then, they'll do all that efficiency stuff and all that. So that's the broad theme of what we're doing. The ID platform is a general identity platform. The subsidy of LPG is an example of that. In India, we have estimated that if you add up all entitlements and all subsidies, they add up to about $60 billion a year. It's about 300,000 crores. And some of them are cash payments. For example, we give a payment, we have a benefit called Janani Suraksha Yojana, which is a payment made to a pregnant lady when she comes in for a delivery to encourage her to come. It's like a cash incentive to come in for a delivery at a hospital and so forth. All these are direct cash payments, and some of the payments we make are implicit. That is, every time you give a cylinder to somebody, in effect, the government is giving a 300 rupees subsidy to that person. So both cash payment-oriented entitlements, as well as subsidies embedded in products like kerosene and LPG, are essentially amenable to transforming them into streamlined cash transfers into Aadhaar-enabled bank accounts. So essentially 300,000 crores of entitlements could, over the next several years, migrate into this model, which gives the benefit of direct targeting. It makes sure it reaches the right individual. It makes sure that it reduces, it's fully auditable, so it makes sure there's no leakages. Because you can do a biometric authentication, you can make sure that, for example, a lot of people believe that if there's a financial benefit to the family, it must reach the woman of the household because she's less likely to abuse that money. So you can design a system where only the lady of the household can authenticate and get the money. So you can design all kinds of things. We want some kind of social things on that. And so this will, and it will free up the subsidy from the manufacturers and allow them to become market players. So this is broadly what's happening. It's, as I said, we have reached 200 million people. We are going to get to 600 million. We have begun the pilot with the 3 oil companies, and I think the results are good. And I think in the next phase, we'll all work together to scale it up and really take it across the country and really come out with a model where the genuine people get the subsidy, the oil companies are able to, work unhampered, and we reduce, emissions and all that stuff, and really use technology in a very effective way to do subsidy reforms. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Nilekani. That really was wonderful and useful, I think, coming from perspective, both from the government side now, and also having all the expertise of the private sector. I think this was really, really very well informative and very encouraging for us, sir. Would you permit us to ask you some questions? All right, folks, the floor is open now. Any question? Nikos, you have a question?
Nikos Xidas from World LP Gas. My question is that obviously this system, which we heard also a little bit of it yesterday, is aimed at, let's say, the poorest range of the people who should be really benefiting of the subsidy. But I would imagine that the poor people do not have at present bank accounts, or may not even in the extreme case be able to read or write, let's say. How do you see this being implemented?
Well, it's definitely a challenge. The first thing is that the Aadhaar number enrollment itself starts with these challenges. But let's say we get him the Aadhaar number, then since the Aadhaar number is a know your customer to open a bank account, the bank account can be opened electronically with that Aadhaar number. So that can be streamlined. And we obviously will have to deal with the challenge of illiteracy and all that, but it's doable. If you make it completely de-skilled and simplified, you can do the bank account opening. Now, in terms of the withdrawal of the money is a very simple transaction because you have a small online device which has a fingerprint reader attached to it, and the customer, the recipient, just goes to the machine, puts the finger, the balance is checked, and they can withdraw the money. So it's very much simplified. There's no paperwork, there's no signatures, there's no remembering of passwords or PINs. It's just a simple biometric authentication. So all these things will I think, make a difference. In any case, my own sense is that the LPG consumers in India are not really the poorest of the poor. I think it's much more a middle class kind of a thing. But I don't know, that's you know better.
Chan Energy Transportation Group, New York. One of the things that's most important about what you're doing is that you are creating new ideas and new operating systems. Do the government of India have plans to share these learnings with the rest of the world? Is there IP involved? What would be involved in having this very interesting and potentially greatly beneficial program? How would India share its learnings with the rest of the world? Can we share your learnings as you are developing the system and rolling it out, or do you want to delay sharing learnings?
No. We are running a very open project. We've already had visits from 15 countries so far who have looked at this ID thing. We've had delegations. We've had our team visit about 4 to 5 countries. Most of our design documents are on our website. Our interfaces, the technology that we use, the certification mechanism, it's all on our website. So we have try to, be as open as possible in terms of the architecture and the whole thing. Now, we don't really have a specific mandate to internationalize this technology. I mean, and right now, our resources and our bandwidth is really, it's a fairly complex thing we're doing. So, taking it global is not our immediate goal. But I think if our government so directs, we'll be more than happy to make this part of of an international interest. And, we have had many visits from the World Bank, from the IFC, from, UNDP, and many organizations, many countries. So we are quite open to, sharing what we have. The thing to remember is that the platform we are creating, there's nothing Indian about it. All you're doing is you're enrolling people using biometrics, giving them an online ID, and giving them online authentication. So it's entirely possible that any country can, replicate this.
If I may ask a question, sir. In that case, extending this analogy, this could actually be a word unique identification number. Why not? No, honestly. It's just 1.2 versus 7 billion.
I mean, yeah, technically, yeah. But I'm not sure, we can build it for 7 billion. But yeah, conceptually, apart from the scale issue, yeah, there's nothing really, anyone can be on the system.
Please. Question. Gentleman here, you have a question?
Yes, Renzo B. from Total Gas. You consider that the reception of payment of the subsidy must be linked with the purchase of the gas. You don't consider, for example, monthly allowance?
What?
A monthly allowance to be received on the bank account?
No, that's a business rule that the government and the oil companies decide. We have no view on this. That's a rule that they will decide. If somebody wants to reimburse subsidy at the time of cylinder purchase, that's one way of doing it. Giving them a flat monthly allowance is another way of doing it. These are all the business rules of the subsidy application where we don't have a view. We are giving the infrastructure. The way the oil companies are currently looking at it is to reimburse at the time of receipt of data, but that's just their decision. That can be changed.
Thank you.
A question from you, Abdul Qadir?
Yes, Ben Khaled from Morocco. It's a pleasure to listen to you. And permit me to present Mr. Ben Amour Najib, who is General Director of Caisse of Subsidies. So it will be a pleasure to discuss with him if you have any time after your meeting. My question is for the targeting. What are the criteria you use to target the family? And what is the criteria to define the amount of the subsidy for each family? Thank you.
This again is really a business rule that the oil companies will decide. As of now, as explained in the Indian context, LPG is a universal subsidy. In other words, everyone, whether he's rich or poor, today gets LPG subsidy. And at some point, once this whole thing is technologically streamlined, the government may choose to exclude some people, which is what I said. But that's a future decision of the government. Even the other question as to, the current subsidy is about 300 rupees. I don't know. 326 rupees. So that's really, again, a computation of the oil companies. What we are doing is providing the plumbing for this. We are not deciding the rules of engagement, because the rules of engagement are done by the domain, the people whose business it is. We provide identity. We give you a very high degree of assurance the identity is unique. We give you the online verification of identity, and we give you a set of open programming interfaces which you can embed this identity logic in your applications. For example, in the Indian situation, the 3 oil companies, in their own software, they've embedded our authentication service, and so they do exactly what they want to do. Only at the time of verifying a person, they go out and use us and come back. So it's an online service.
Sir, all these things we discuss on positive sense. I have a negative question.
Sure.
What about the terrorist? They will not come forward, they will not volunteer themselves to be having this card or something. Have you thought of anything?
No, what about that? What about the terrorist? What is it that you want?
If somebody is not interested to volunteer himself, how do we deal with that?
Well, he's not in the system. The purpose of the system is not to catch terrorists. The purpose of the system is to reform public delivery systems so that we can reduce subsidies. It's an optional system. It does not require everyone to be in the system. You take a number in the system because you're going to get certain benefits like better LPG service or whatever. This is not a system to catch terrorists. So don't assign a job to it which is not his job.
Just one moment. I'm conscious of your time, sir.
It's okay, I can ask her.
So, right, I mean, so go ahead. Gentleman here.
This is an interesting conversation.
Would you?
What? Others.
By 2014, we'll have around 600 million. And if we really calculate the population of the country and how far we have to go, it will
You're not
be around-
satisfied with 600 million, huh?
No, just a question.
Yeah, sure. Actually, as per the recent cabinet decision, the Aadhaar program working through various registrars will enroll 600 million. And there's another program of the Home Ministry called NPR, which will also enroll 600 million. So ideally, when both programs deliver, we should be able to reach the full number faster. That's one answer. The other thing is, to increase the speed of this enrollment, there are two things that are required. One is, we need more enrollment stations in the field. Today we have 27,000 enrollment stations, so we'll have to take it up to 30, 40,000. It's doable, but right now, we are holding it at that. Second is the back-end technology should be able to process the flood of enrollment packets, because that's actually a very huge infrastructure, because as I said, if you receive 1 million enrollments a day, and we already have 300 million, then each of those 1 million has to be compared against all the 300 million, and you'll compare every fingerprint. So it's about 10 trillion comparisons that have to be done. So you need huge computing infrastructure for that, but we can increase it if
Can I just ask another question? Like you have that number, which is the UID. That Aadhaar number is a random number.
Yeah.
Can't we make it a more specific number? Like let's say have different for males and females. So while you're doing the search, your search time gets reduced.
No, you're doing a biometric search. So you're not using the demographic information. It's a biometric search.
Okay.
In any case, the general thinking, we have the male and female and all that. We can do that, but we will just use the biometrics for the search. In any case, the number, general principle in number design now is not to have intelligence in the number. Because when I see a number, I should not know anything about you. For example, in the US Social Security number, you can, if you know where he was born and when he was born, you can actually, there are ways you can use computers to figure out what your SSN number is. Similarly, in the Scandinavian countries, the number has the date of birth in it. So if I meet a lady and I get a number, I know her date of birth, which may not be what she wants. What I'm saying is that it's not a good idea to embed knowledge in the number. Number should be random.
So no big brother here.
I mean, yeah.
Gentleman at the back, yes, please.
Yeah. The one main concern that I have is that you are going to be linking up this entire subsidy system to various government departments who would have their own ways of wanting to give subsidy for different services.
Mm-hmm.
You would have 3 different oil marketing companies who have their own architecture and way of working. Now with all this, how do you ensure the security? Because with so many loops or so many open ports all around, how do you ensure that somebody does not steal the data and in turn misuse it? Steal the biometrics data or the data about each of the people, bank account numbers,
No.
all these
It is the responsibility of the oil companies to guard the data of their customers. It is the responsibility of the banks to guard the data of their accounts. That is there today, that will be there tomorrow. The only difference is we provide what we call as an authentication application programming interface. So in the logic of the oil company application, if they say at this point I have to check whether X is X, at that point they will take X's name, number, fingerprint, send that as a packet to us, we'll compare that and come back and saying yes, he's X or he's not X. So we are not even getting involved with what's happening inside the applications of our various users. And it is their job to provide security as it is today. Even today the banks have to provide security, no?
So it is not that they are linking into your system to verify the data.
No, they are only making a call. It's what you call as a service, software as a service. You make a call, that packet is digitally encrypted and signed by the oil company so that we know it's from them. Send to us, we will unpack it, check it, send back an answer, that's it. We only give a yes or a no.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, Mr. Solanki, your question.
Yeah, sir, you said that the accuracy is 99.6%.
96, yeah.
So what are the errors apart from this that you are facing in this?
You have, today you have 60% error, I brought it to 0.004 and you want to know. No, what we meant, I'll explain to you what that means. Today, approximately about 2 to 3% of enrollments that we're getting are duplicates. In other words, people trying to enroll twice. Now, it's not necessarily for malicious reasons. It's also because they've enrolled and they've not heard from us, so they have anxiety, so they go and enroll again. So in that 2% or 3% enrollment duplicates, in that the deduplication accuracy is 99.96. So actually when you look at the total number of enrollments, the duplication is very, very low. So our assumption is that in 1.2 billion enrollments, we will have few thousand duplicates. But that's, I think, not bad, for a system of this scale. You can't expect 100%. Because biometrics is a pattern recognition. It's not exact arithmetic.
Please go ahead.
So within how much time should a person expect that once he is gone for enrollment, he will hear from you?
Well, that actually has been a challenge for us because we had such a huge demand that we got backlogged on Aadhaar issuance. So for example, though we have enrolled about 180 million people, we have only issued about 136 million Aadhaar numbers. And so we have a backlog of enrollment, and we have a second backlog, which is that never before have so many letters been mailed out in the country. So the system is not able to cope with the letters. So we have problems at both ends, and that's why it's taking a few months. But once we debug all this, it should be a matter of 6 to 8 weeks for the letter to come. But we are providing an alternative. We're providing an online e-Aadhaar where you can go and get your number online, but that's yet to be rolled out.
Conscious of time, I think we'll take 2 more questions if you please permit. Then your question.
So my question is that this is a unique ID, and what about the demographics in terms of, like you said, that the money should flow to the deserving guy? How will we decide that who is the deserving guy? That's not more important. How we will link the unique ID to the deserving candidate?
No, see, I think we should distinguish identity from eligibility. What you're asking is eligibility. Yeah. Now, what we are doing is identity. So we are only saying that X is X. Now, whether X is eligible for something is a business rule of the domain of that application. For example, today, as I said, LPG is a universal benefit. Tomorrow, the government may decide that all income tax payers, public sector employees, private employees, whatever, passport holders or some random thing like that, are ineligible for LPG. Then they have to design a business rule and implement it to exclude those people. Now, the point to understand is that the business rules varies from application to application. So the rules for exclusion or inclusion in LPG may be very different from the rules in kerosene. So these are the rules of the domain of that application. That's not our field. We will only confirm X is X. Your application in your oil company, your application in your bank will then decide whether X is eligible or not. That's a business rule of the application.
Okay. Last question. Gentleman there, please.
So you said 20 million a month, and another 2 years it will be 60 billion, and NPR again, so another 2 years the country is going to be covered.
Hopefully, yeah.
Yeah. So till that time we are not looking for any benefits out of it, or we are doing a city specific or a region specific?
In fact, that's a very good question. What we have discussed, for example, with the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas in India is that they can notify areas. So let's say that we get 80-90% coverage of Hyderabad or Mysore or Pune, then those areas can be notified for Aadhaar usage. So we don't have to wait for the whole country to be covered. We can actually start releasing it in pockets.
Thank you, sir.
Well, it's been exhilarating. It's been really, really informative, and I think we all need to do this for you. And how I wish more ministers were ex-Infosys. Thank you very much. Really appreciate your time. Thank you very much. Please.